Nice, perfect. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. For this new workshops, we have the chance to receive two amazing guests. We have Maria Teresa and Patsy from Telefónica. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, Roman. Thanks for the invitation.
Perfect. So we will have a presentation on Telefónica and how they use Chainlink Functions. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to comment that here in the chat. We have time at the end of the presentation to talk about it. And you can start presenting your slides. And I will stay in the shadow and just ping me if you have any questions.
Cool. So welcome everyone, and thanks Roman for the introduction. So we can start introducing ourselves. So we'll start first. So I'm the Web3 product manager at Telefónica, where we are trying to innovate and disrupt products and services for digital consumer using blockchain. Prior to Telefónica, I co-founded companies in the blockchain ecosystem and also held leadership positions in other sectors such as tech. And last but not least, also I'm academic collaborator in digital business in different universities. And Maritere?
Hi, everyone, and welcome. And thank you, Patsy and Romain. My name is Maria Teresa, but everybody calls me Maritere. I'm part of the developer relations team in Telefónica in amazing project called Open Gateway. But in the past, I have worked a lot with blockchain technology. I was part, for example, in the Hyperledger's technical steering committee during 1 year. And I also still working with blockchain technology. I'm professor in different universities, and also I'm a women tech maker lead and an ambassador of a community called Women Tech Makers Madrid. So that's all.
Thank you, Maritere. So before starting, so we have split the presentation into 3 different blocks. First, we will discuss the relationship between telco and blockchain. Then Maritere will introduce Open Gateway and how telcos are opening their network capabilities to developers. Finally, we will demonstrate, how we have combined Chainlink Functions with Open Gateway. Okay, so let's start. Okay, it's working. Yes. So first question. So we are a telco. So first questions: why smartphones? So smartphones are everywhere. Almost everyone has one, making them a powerful tool for spreading blockchain technology. This wide use of smartphones ensures that blockchain apps can reach basically a global audience. And one example of this distribution is the wallets. Okay, so many companies are developing blockchain wallets for smartphones, and focusing on the smartphones, we make sure that users can access their blockchain assets anywhere, anytime, anywhere, making blockchain more a part of daily life. And thanks also of this new opportunity, so we are also seeing how dApps are increasingly using phone number in order to set different steps like QACs, OTPs, account creations, account recovery, and so on. And finally, also security. We need to ensure that those users have full control and their interactions are safe. So the question is, how do we secure these smartphones when they interact with blockchain? Or in other words, how do we ensure that the users have full control and are protected and secure? And why we should ask these questions? So because despite the current security measures, so there have been recent security breaches involving the smartphones and phone numbers in the blockchain space. So here we have different examples. I will focus on the second one, because it's in this case is the API that we are using in Chainlink Functions. So it's SwimSwap attacks. So SwimSwap attacks are a major threat where attackers gain control of a user's phone number by tricking the mobile carrier, basically. This allows them to basically access to the blockchain accounts. And for instance, one of the main consequences can be to steal the funds. And in order to give, an example of how important it is to avoid these attacks, the founder of Ethereum, so Vitalik Buterin, last fall got SIM swap. So as you can see, so that can happen to everyone. Another recent security issues are, for instance, account hijacking or fraud account, that are another example of possible problems that can happen. And now, with Maritere, we'll review how we can open our network capabilities of the telcos in order to prevent these problems. Maritere?
Thank you, Patsy. So at the end, our question is, what if we can use the telcos to bring power to Web3 technologies on blockchain? So the first of all that I'm going to talk is what means open the telco capabilities. So this refers to making the features and functionalities of the telecommunication networks accessible for external developers through standardized APIs in order to create application. Traditionally, these capabilities were tightly controlled and accessible only for telco companies, but we think that we can open these functionalities to the public in order to give more power and more security to applications, because at the end, as telcos, as companies, we know the customers, the clients, and in this world that is digitalized, the people always is carrying their phones. So at the end, we can access some data, always preserving the privacy, in order to give some functionalities to applications. And also another important thing is that we have the connectivity, because at the end we need connectivity in order to send messages, to make transactions on blockchains, to make a decentralized application. So we think that we can give a lot of functionalities. Next, Patsy, please. So this project that refers to open these capabilities is called Open Gateway. And Open Gateway is making things easier by hiding the complicated parts that we have in the telco networks. It is made by giving standard APIs to programmers, new businesses, big companies, startups, to combine the different telco services and giving access to a lot of different features whenever needed. So Open Gateway is a project that is a global initiative of the GSMA, that is the association that stands for all the telco companies. And everything is made by an open source project that is called Camera, that this project is standardizing and defining all the functionalities that the telcos have to expose in order to developers or companies can consume these functionalities. So Camera, that is this project, is part of the umbrella of the Linux Foundation. So at the end, for example, we are covering the 66% of the mobile communications worldwide. And in this project right now, we have 42 telco companies like Telefónica, Vodafone, Orange, Deutsche Telekom, etc. So uh, uh, we like to say that this project is magic, because at the end, the network is not unique, it's very, very complex. I don't know how in your city are, for example, the connectivity made, and how do you have the antennas, the fiber. But at the end, the telcos have a lot of internal APIs that consume different applications, and this is really, really hard to expose if you are only working with only one telco, and you are only working with some functionality, like for example SMS. So at the end, leveraging these capabilities involves a lot of complex integration projects to integrate with a telco. So this project, like if we say that they are difficult. At the end, it transforms into cost, contracts, time, and at the end is really, really hard. So our point of view with Open Gateway is to make it really, really simple, really, really easy to code, really, really easy to integrate in order to take these telco capabilities to the applications. So how this works in the next slide. So this is working with an aggregator. If you don't know what is an aggregator, it doesn't matter because at the end it's like a cloud server or hyperscaler. At the end, the applications are going to connect to a aggregator, and the aggregator is going to make all the magic. The aggregator is going to connect with the different APIs of the different telco companies, and the developers are going only to integrate via an API or via an SDK with the aggregator, like an abstraction layer. So you are going to consume the aggregator, and the aggregator is going to make all the magic to connect the application with the telco functionalities. So what happens if we don't have an aggregator? Pues, so as I was saying, is you have like a company, for example, you have to talk with one telco, you have to make contracts, you have to integrate your apps, you have to know how this telco is exposing the functionalities, and then when, for example, if you are have been working with this telco like 1 year to integrate the functionalities, you are going to integrate with another telco. That's it. Next. So 1 year is going to happen in the new telco. And for example, if you want to integrate a third telco, you are going to have another year, for example. But if we have only an aggregator with the APIs of Open Gateway in the next slide, you are going to use the network in any country working with different operators, not only, for example, with Telefónica. You are going to work with Deutsche Telekom, Orange, Vodafone, Vivo in Brazil, and you are going to talk the same language for the applications. So at the end, we are going to have the same code for an application that is going to work around the world and with all the telcos. So how is this possible? Because of the camera project. At the end, the camera project is working with all the telcos in different groups. We have right now 992 members, and they are sitting in order to talk and in order to define the language. For example, if we want to create a SIM swap API, we are going to define the different parameters, how it's going to make the request, how we are going to call the endpoint, and go on with all the functionalities that we are going to expose. So at the end, we have made everything with 4 principles that are going to easy to integrate, easy to code, preserving the privacy of the users, because at the end, this data, um, we have data of the location, we have data of the communications, and this data has to be private. And we are also working in a large API catalog in order to have a lot of functionalities to give power to applications. So at the end, as I was talking, easy to integrate. Why this is going to be easy to integrate? Because at the end, the developer is going to use one API that is defined by camera. And then the aggregators that are cloud providers are going to talk the same language. So they are going also to consume different APIs defining by camera. So for example, if you have a mobile phone from Telefónica in Spain, and then you want to check another telephone like from other company also in Spain, you are going to have the same endpoint and the same aggregator. And then the aggregator is going to know from which telco has to interact. So at the end, it's really, really easy to developers. In the next slide, we are going to talk how it's really, really easy to code. For example, in this case, this is an application in order to know if a client, if a mobile number have the SIM swapped. So at the end, as you can see in the screen, you can use it by, for example, an SDK, like in this case, or you can also use it like in the left side using the API at the end. As you can see, it's really, really easy, and you are using the telco functionalities. And also, the telcos are going to use the same language. So at the end, uh, we are going to be able to know, uh, depending on the country, depending of the mobile phone, depending of the carrier, if a SIM has swapped or not. So in the next slide, we are going to talk about the privacy, because when you are going to use the Open Gateway APIs, you are going to adhere to all privacy and data regulation specific in your region. For example, here in Europe, we have the GDPR. So we have meticulously examined the legal requirements across the different regions, and at the end, the telcos, we are responsible for the privacy of their clients. So developers are not going to worry of the consideration if they are going to use these functionalities, because we are going to give the data private. And finally, we have alerts API catalog. We have been talking about the SIM swap functionality, because in this case, it makes sense in order to have wallets. For example, if you want to change the password, to verify that the user is the user, and his mobile phone has not been stolen. But you can also use another functionalities, like, for example, the device location, in order, for example, if you are in a bank, to know if the user that is carrying their mobile phone is going to take money from their account. And if we want to have it in a decentralized way, we can also export this functionality. We can also, for example, if we want to transmit data, we can guarantee the quality of the data in order to not have interruptions in the transmission of the data. And we are working in many more functionalities that they are defining by the camera project. So if you are interested, how you can start, no? Because these functionalities are right now available. You can use, for example, an aggregator, like, for example, Azure, Bonus, Infobip. And depending on the country you want to operate, and with the telco, in this case, for example, with Vivo, Movistar, um, O2, depending in the telcos. For example, you can use in Brazil, Spain, and Germany the SIM swap functionalities, and number verification, and the device location. And also you can take our sandbox, like is like working like aggregator, in order to also make some tests. So we are going to have a sandbox beta in order to have to make tests to users. So you can also test the SIM swap functionality for Spain numbers, and the quality on demand functionality, for example, if you want to guarantee the transmission of the data. So this is how the sandbox is going to work. You can access scanning the QR code if you are interested. I think that is a video, Patsy. I don't know if you can play it. Thank you.
I
Demo effect.
think, yeah, I think it's not working.
Oh, it
Sorry.
doesn't mind. It doesn't mind. At the end, you can select the API that you want
Yeah.
to use. For example, the SIM swap API, you are going to register register the name of the application, the country you want to operate, and then you are going to have an application with an application credentials and an AP key and some secrets, and you are going to take these credentials to your application, and you are going, for example, to call the API via Postman, and also you can use it using an SDK like in a language like, for example, Python. All the information is on the web, so if you want to see the video is on the web. So I you can scan the QR code to see the video, because we have this demo effect. So now Pasti is going to talk how they have been working with the Open Gateway APIs and how they have integrated these telco functionalities in a Web3 world.
Thanks, thanks, Maritere. And yes, I mean, as you mentioned, so what we saw, I mean, in my case, the video is working. Sorry. Okay, so I think the video, I think, is working, so you can see a real example, and I will explain a little bit more now. But then, as Maritere was explaining, so we think that there is a new profile of developers in the decentralized Web3 ecosystems, and we want to open gateway to their requirements. And in order to do that, so I think we think that Chainlink plays a super important role by integrating external data into the blockchain and also expanding the potential uses and functionality in the decentralized application in the dApps. And this is why we have chosen Chainlink in order to create our very first project related to the API of Open Gateway called SIMSwap. Okay, so this first API is available through Chainlink. As I mentioned before, it's SIMSwap. We think that there is a good match between, I mean, different use cases from current developers that we have already talked. And also, it's launched in Brazil through Vivo and our partner Infobip. Okay, so now we are allowing developers to check if the phone number is of the user has been swapped directly through a smart contract. This project, just to give also when we launched this project, so this project was showcased during the Mobile World Congress, and we are just in the stage of finishing all the documentation or repository for the developers. That I think that it will be ready in the very first weeks. All the documentation will be highlighted, and we are going to give visibility once is ready. Also, it's important to mention that, I mean, this first API, the SIMSwap, is the beginning of evolutionary plan to include more APIs and more countries, so dApps can have more opportunities to access to all these new capabilities that Maritere was explaining of Open Gateway. Last but not least, so in the video, in the video, so you can see a real example of a chat, a chat between users where a role change is made, so to make a user an admin, a call to the Chainlink function is made to check if the phone used for the registration was swapped. If it wasn't, so the user is successfully registered as an admin. So you can check a real example of the usage of the Chainlink functions plus the API SIMSwap of Open Gateway. And how did we create this project? So first of all, the most important thing that we leverage Chainlink functions that allows us to fetch any data, in this case SIMSwap, from the API and run custom compute on Chainlink. Really straightforward. I guess that you already know about the Chainlink function, but we thought that it was the best solution, in order to create our project. And the last thing is the architecture that we created. So with Chainlink functions, we have created a really straightforward architecture, so that aims to simplify the interactions between Open Gateway and Chainlink, acting as a reliable and secure intermediary for the developer. Two things. One thing is important to emphasize here is privacy and security, because both are two crucial assets for us that we focus on. So we are now with this architecture, with the goal that we have with the API SIM swap. So we anchor information on the blockchain while ensuring GDPR compliance. So this was a really important thing for us. And this architecture that you are seeing here, we have designed, meets the same privacy and the same security objectives as if we were like operating in a Web 2 environment. Then also it's important to emphasize also that we have also considered the potential impact of quantum computers in the future. So we ensured that encrypted information is protected using quantum safe algorithms, providing more robust security for the futures. Okay, so it's something that we have also added to the architecture. So that's pretty much everything on our side. So only 25 minutes, so it's okay. So really appreciate for your time, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the great presentations. Guys, if you have any questions, just feel free to write that in the chat. I saw a question from Onuria. You already talked a little bit about that during your presentation, but what the status of integration in Latin America for all the countries? And I would add that I saw in the map that you shared at the beginning of your presentation that you had some telco in Asia. I don't know if you can share a little bit more about that.
Yeah. All the information of the launch status is on the GSMA page. You can Google Open Gateway public status, and you have the list of the countries that already are working on. We have in America, we have also Argentina and USA. And also we have countries in Asia, like for example China. So yeah, this is worldwide.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive to see all these big companies working together using the blockchain technology. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I don't see any other questions in the chat. I saw some excitement of people using some real use case of Chainlink functions. So yeah, that's really cool to see Web2 or big companies like Telefónica using Chainlink functions and services for the new projects. Perfect. So I don't see any other questions. So the Discord is recorded. If you guys have any questions for Maria Therese or Patsy, just feel free to reach out to them. You have the email address here on the last page. And yeah, thank you so much again for your presentation, and hope to have you here again for our next workshop.
Thank you, Roman.
Roman.
Bye bye.
Have a good
Bye.
day.
Bye bye. Thank you.